side of the balance sheet issue. How you deploy your capital. That's an issue that companies face all the time, continually, forever. So that it's not a good time or a bad time. You always are looking at how you allocate your capital, whether you own land, whether you not own land, whether you own other assets, whatever. So it's always a good time. Thirdly, I would say that once you've made a preliminary decision as where you want to go, and as you're continually reevaluating that decision, the implementation of it is not going to take place overnight. Again, you have 200 million square feet of space. And how are you going to go about doing it? How are you going to execute on it? So I don't know that there's a good time or a bad time. I just believe strongly that a company of this size should be always considering what it should be doing with its real estate and how it manages it.
I would say, lastly, to your question, the only thing that this panel offers to the company in terms of a short-term fix, in my opinion, is governance. All right? All the rest of this stuff, whether it's real estate or credit cards or food retailing, are long-term strategic and investment decisions for the company. And the question is, who do you want on the board to help you make those decisions? Do you want the incumbent nominees, who are, again, I would stipulate, they're all good people, they're all successful business people, but we have an opportunity here. 5 seats come up for election. We have the opportunity to pick people who can add value to the company. Remember, these are 3-year terms. So if the current directors are elected, we've got them for another 3 years, and we don't get these directors for the next 3 years. And I think that would be a loss for shareholders. Let me take an online question. Recently, Eddie Lampert outlined a plan to sublease excess space in Sears stores. How is Pershing's plan different from Mr. Lampert's plan? I think it's a good question. Sears Roebuck & Company is not Target by any means, and it's a retailer that's had major operating and other issues. And one of its most valuable assets is its real estate, not for Sears, but the alternative use of that real estate. So Sears is in the process of transitioning and really becoming a real estate company. Target is not like Sears by any means. The kinds of things that we propose for Target's real estate have more to do with does Target hold the real estate in the most efficient manner? How do they deploy their capital in real estate in the most efficient manner? But those stores are always going to be 100% occupied by Target, right? Sears is kind of unfortunately a failed retailer, but they have some valuable assets with alternative uses, and Eddie Lampert I think is doing a very good job turning around a retailer that's had a very tough last 10 years, 15 years. And he may determine that he can't compete with Target and Walmart, but what he can do is he owns 15% of every mall in America, and he can find a better use for that space. There's a higher and better use. Wouldn't surprise me to see Sears subletting stores to Target over time. Professor Gilson, why do you think Target rejected your call for a universal proxy? Do you think they'll agree to let Pershing Square name their directors on Pershing's ballot? A former student.
My students are getting jobs in this environment. I'm delighted. It depends what you think this process is about. Target rejected the universal proxy suggestion in a morning. And let me be clear about what a universal proxy is, just in case people haven't seen it. It sounds fancy. What it amounts to is simply a ballot like the one you use every time you go to the polling place, where every candidate that you can vote for is on the card, and you choose who you want to vote for rather than having to juggle separate cards. So it's simply, its function is simply to make it easier for the shareholders to choose. It doesn't put its thumb on any side of the scale. Why do I think they did it? Frankly, the only thing I can imagine is they thought it made it easier for shareholders to choose, and as a result, they made it easier to choose someone other than an incumbent. The second question was, do I think Target will allow Pershing to list the incumbents on Pershing's proxy card, which will have something of the same effect. That is, you'll be able to take one card and choose who you want for one slate or the other. I think the short answer to that is it really depends on all of you. If Target hears from its shareholders that they want an easy and straightforward way to cast their votes, my guess is Target will respond. If they don't, I think they'll continue to stonewall.
Question. On CNBC this morning, Nelson Peltz said the key to success and activism was to have a logical plan to boost EPS. Then Jim Donald from Pershing Square shared no ideas for what Target should do. Why should people vote for Pershing Square if you guys have no plan? A few things. I think it's a good question because it raises a number of issues. Number one, we're not asking you to vote for Pershing Square. We're asking you to vote for 5 individual nominees, 4 of whom have no affiliation for Pershing Square. I've got some ideas on real estate, but I defer to the rest of the team. Team is maybe even too strong a word, to the rest of the nominees that we've proposed for what value they can bring. I think Jim, he could speak for himself, but my sense is if he's going to join this board, he wants to join it and have the most positive relationship he possibly can with the CEO. And I think if Jim were to surface all kinds of ideas that he may have on how to improve the company, it might, I don't know, why am I speaking for you? You speak.
It's hard to have ideas when you don't have access to the strategy that they're rolling out. I mean, in simple, plain terms, and I said this morning, we have to give credit, we have to give Target credit for what they have built. I said that, in my opinion, they're one of the top 5 merchants and retailers in the world, and I've been all over the world. So as a director, it's more strategic than it is tactical. And hopefully, the individual will see that as a director, our biggest job is to listen, to counsel, and to advise. We're not employees, we're directors.
And further to this point, this is not a case where our plan is to sell Yahoo to Microsoft. The plan here is to put people with relevant expertise and high quality character for each of the different disciplines of the company to instill a greater sense of ownership on the board or shareholder ownership, and then let this minority of the board work with the majority of the board that will stay on the board and help make this a better company. And I just think, almost every shareholder vote, you're given 99% of the time, you're given one candidate for each slot that was handpicked by the existing board. We're spending our money, Pershing Square's money, to create the opportunity for you to select among the company's candidates and our candidates. That's what this is about. It's as simple as that. Question from the audience. Over there on the right.
Bill, you've probably been given more access than any shareholder to management over the last 2 years. Can you give us a flavor of what those discussions have been like and what other subjects have come up that haven't surfaced publicly? Thank you.
Sure. We've been sparing in using management's time, and management has been very receptive when we wanted to have a meeting or a call. I've had an excellent relationship with Greg Steinhoffel and Doug Scovanner. We actually haven't spoken since the proxy contest began. I mean, I think the nature of these things, unfortunately, particularly on the company side, they hire a bunch of advisors. The advisors write the letters they're used to writing. They have a strategy for running a contest. So we really haven't spoken a lot at all, really, over the last several weeks. We've really deferred to the company in terms of them running their business, as I think of the core retail operation. And we've tried to weigh in where we felt that we had specific knowledge that could be valuable to the company. That's really on the credit card side and the real estate side. We haven't spent a lot of time talking to the company about general merchandising or otherwise. And there really isn't anything that we haven't. I mean, we're going to make some more of our presentations to Target public, so you have a better sense of what was discussed at a meeting and our call. We're doing that partially because one of the company's new things that they said in the fight letter is, well, first Pershing had this real credit card idea, and then they changed their mind about that. Then they had a real estate idea, they changed their mind about that, and now they have this board idea, and who knows, they might change their idea about that. We bought a stake in Target. One, we thought that if they could exit their credit card business in a partnership transaction, we'd meaningfully reduce risk. We'd extract capital that could be redeployed in a stock buyback. The company could maintain a strong A rating, and it would meaningfully increase earnings per share while reducing risk of the company. We also thought it would increase the multiple that this company traded at, because analysts and investors look at Target and they say, it used to be 85% or 83% retailer, 17% bank. They would assign a much lower multiple to the bank earnings, a much higher multiple to the retailer, but the blended multiple would be less than their competitors. We wanted to solve that problem, minimize risk, increase free cash flow. Again, the credit card business was a huge consumer of free cash flow. Our second initiative, again, which we identified prior to buying the stock, is that Target owns more high-quality real estate than any other retailer. And that we thought, with some analysis and some ideas and some creative thinking, we could come up with a solution to that problem, or at least one that would lead to the right answer.